welcome to another episode of Beyond the Locker Room. I'm your host, Brian Tull. In today's episode, we're going to discuss Dwight Howard leaving Los Angeles and what that means for Houston and Dwight Howard, and also what that means for the Lakers moving forward. So let's go. Let's get started. So first thing about Dwight. Everyone's waiting to see where he's going to go. I don't think this is the most anticlimactic decision that's been made in a long time. I think if anyone looked at the tea leaves, he wasn't happy in LA. And if you saw how the teams lined up, Houston seemed to be the most logical choice. I will say this though, I must admit, I didn't see Golden State, I guess when the free agent period started, as a contender or a possibility or even in play. But when I started thinking about more, it made a lot of sense why Golden State would want to reach out for Dwight Howard's services, as well as Dwight Howard really consider them as a possibility. They're already a good young team, getting to the second round this past year of the playoffs in the Western Conference. They have a lot of good shooters all around them, so they're just looking for a strong post player. Obviously, Dwight would provide that easily. So to me, the more I thought about it, I can see why Howard would consider them as a big time option. But when it's all said and done, Houston seemed to be the most logical choice, and it seemed quite just as logical the other way, that LA is not a right fit for Dwight Howard. I don't blame him one bit for making the move. I think all these Laker fans need to calm down a little bit. It's like it's a sense of entitlement that only comes through Laker fans, and I don't even say Celtics fans at this point have this type of entitlement. That how dare he leave the Lakers and the Laker brand and this and that. Like, when it's all said and done, is what have you done for me lately, as Janet Jackson said. So with the Lakers, I see it as a team with an aging superstar that doesn't want to give up his role as the top dog, which obviously had to rub Howard the wrong way. When I'm 27 years old, in the prime of my career, and we're still acquiescing to a certain extent. I understand the respect that Kobe deserves, but at some point we gotta move on. I mean, we see how Duncan's been able to be playing as a second fiddle to Parker. Garnett was a big dog in Minnesota, came over to Boston realizing it's Pierce's team, and he was quite happy to play the role as, kind of the stopper and the guy holding down the boards, but not really looking to be the focal point on offense or primary guy for the big shots. He left, obviously he was never a great big shot maker to begin with, even in Minnesota, but so it played well into what he wanted to do. But when it was all said and done, Pierce and Ray Allen to some extent took those big time shots for Boston. And we've seen Wade, of course, do the same thing, obviously, in Miami with LeBron. But, I just don't see Kobe doing that. I don't see Kobe ever doing that. I don't care if Kobe could 46, and Kobe's still going to be the same way, wanting the ball. I mean, in some respects, we saw this play out in Washington when Jordan came back and played for the Wizards when he was had part ownership. One of the reasons why Richard Hamilton couldn't stay around Washington and wanted to get out was, he's 23 and 22. He was the top draft pick, and the team was kind of building around him. And guess who's taking all the shots? A 38-year-old guy, hitting, looking to hit 20-foot fadeaways. At some point you gotta realize, when you're the old man in the court, just realize and know your role a little bit. And I think, obviously, just as Jordan couldn't in Washington, I don't know if in LA Kobe ever will do so. So, that's just one part of it. To be honest with you, Kobe's not even the biggest part of it. I mean, it really comes down to is the management situation, Jim Buss, and of course, in this case, D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni, I think he's a brutal coach. I'm not even trying to hide it. I think, what his strategy is. I mean, at some point you have to play defense, and for you to ignore one side of the entire game, I think that's just coaching malpractice. And then throw in the fact that, he has no idea what to do with post players. So if I'm Dwight Howard, why am I even looking to bother tying my prime years, probably 37 to about 32, 27 to about 32 years of age with D'Antoni, who's never shown any interest in working with any sort of big man. You hear now from Stephen A. Smith and a few others that he was interested in getting Phil Jackson to come back to run the show. The Lakers kind of scoffed at that a little bit and kind of pushed that aside. And pretty much, I guess that was his thing. His mindset was like, there's one more reason why there's no need for me to stay. And the third reason why I think it's probably proper. It's probably best for him to move on is just that the youthfulness of Houston. I mean, you got a 23-year-old star player in Harden. Parsons is about the same age, if not a year younger. you keep Lynn, and I'm not thinking they're going to do so in the long run, but even with Lynn there, he's like 23, 24. So you got a good set of young pieces. Harden could take over the game late in games and get the foul line and hit big shots. So it takes the burden off of Howard to do that. Very similar to a Shaq Kobe situation back in the early 2000s. Obviously, neither player is as good as Shaq or Kobe, but it does make Houston a threat and a serious contender in the West. The push people. I think they need one more piece, though. I think they really get over the hump. We'll see what they do, with the remaining time in the free agency market. I think Houston will be in the mix with, OKC, San Antonio, Golden State, and I think Memphis might still be in there. I mean, and of course the Clippers, I think, will be heard from as well too. That's the LA team you should be watching. That's for so I see that going to be a really interesting battle there to see it. We'll see what happens out west. And as for the Lakers, I said before, I think they really have to start the rebuilding process. I think Boston made a concerted effort to try and make sure they were going to be players in the 2014 draft. I think LA's going about a different way. They're not looking at it for draft. They're looking at clearing cap space for 2014 for free agency. And, knowing LA's history, they usually do find themselves, with the free agent of the day. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, with 2014, we know who's coming out. A few names out there will be ready to go. I believe, obviously LeBron being number one. Carmelo will be out there. Wade technically be out there. Bosh will be out there. So there's going to be a lot of big-time names going to be on the board, and we'll see what happens at that time. I mean, I don't see them getting LeBron. I think LeBron either stays in Miami or he heads back to Cleveland. I really think that's more and more of a possibility. A lot will depend on this season, this last season before the contract ends in Miami. But also, Carmelo's a more interesting one. But even though I cannot see Carmelo and Kobe coexisting, that would be fun. Just watch that car crash happen. I must admit, just as for me, just me be evil, I would enjoy that to the nth degree to watch that on Sunday afternoons, watching as they both take turns, taking the shots. D'Antoni, wherever hair he has now, he will have none of it after that if he's still the coach. So we'll see how it all plays out. I think the other thing too that came out of this whole thing is, listen, everybody loves to be up on Dwight, and Dwight, he deserves a lot of what he gets at times. But I think one thing that's definitely clear is that there definitely seems to be an agenda in the media on putting things out about Howard that wasn't really necessarily true in this case. He took a lot of heat for what happened with the Lakers this year. To some extent, he has to take responsibility. But there's a lot of other things. I think the coaching is the number one issue. But also a lot of other guys that got passes as well, too. Steve Nash was just horrible. But the media loves Steve Nash, so Steve Nash got a pass. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this year, because I really don't know if Nash is going to get any better. He's 1 year older. He might end up being healthy now. But once again, playing with Bryant, I don't see how Steve Nash can be effective when he's usually a guy who has the ball, picking apart a defense. And playing with Kobe, he's not going to have that ball. I just don't see it playing out. I think when you have a guy like Kobe Bryant, I like Jordan, you need to have a guy that's playing alongside him who can just knock down open shots off of his penetration. Another guy that needs the ball and likes to penetrate himself is just not going to work with Bryant. And then Gasol, now he has the paint for himself. He should be getting, pretty good stats coming up this next season. If you got your fantasy pools, I think you might want to look into Gasol. But then again, with D'Antoni, you might still have him out there shooting 20-footers. So we'll never know. But the Lakers really need to kind of get back into the fold, get the whole management situation sorted out with the buses. Either Jeannie or Jim, whichever one, get true ownership of the team and get things back on track. They got to find an exit strategy for Kobe. You can't assume he's going to be back. And if he is, when he does come back, will he be the player that we saw this year? That's a rough injury to come back from. I know a lot of you Kobe fans think he's superhuman, but hey, even he draws blood when you cut him. So we'll see what happens. During the offseason and the next year, but it's going to be a lot of fun, still a lot of stuff to take hold of. I definitely have to talk about the Bargnani trade at some point, so I will get to that. I will not let that slide. So we'll get that one next time around. Anyhow, stay safe, everybody. Enjoy the summer. I'm enjoying it, but make sure you have fun and stay safe. We'll talk later. Bye.